You're not invisible after 50. Sounds intriguing, right? It was the same expression which I had when I heard about You're Not Invisible After 50 podcast and the host of the podcast, Kiran Kumar. So let's find out what is in it all about You're Not Invisible After 50 in this episode. She's a passionate, dedicated, and accomplished entrepreneur, speaker, and advocate for self empowerment and equity. In fact, she's committed to helping women of all ages and backgrounds so that they achieve success and visibility. She is the founder of Roaring Ahead, a training and empowerment organization aimed at empowering all women, regardless of color, class, creed, and culture. And not only that, she is the founder and the host of You Are Not Invisible After 50 podcast, and also the founder of SPF 50 Plus, which stands for Super Powerful Female 50 Plus Movement. And let's talk to Kiran on You Are Not Invisible After 50. This is the Guiding Voice podcast series, the Guiding Voice for a Better Future. Friends, I am your host Naveen Samala, just a fellow professional, but a passionate learner on a mission to make the world a better place to live. Through the Guiding Voice, we drive conversations that matter and conversations that add value to your life and to your career. Thank you so much for joining me. And Kiran, how are you doing today?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much, Naveen. I'm so thrilled to be here. I'm so thrilled that we've connected. So thank you.
Absolute pleasure is mine. And hearty welcome to the Guiding Voice. Let's get started, Kiran. Yeah, you can share the top 3 things that I've attributed to your success so far, and also the secret of this roaring energy, because your energy is kind of infectious.
Well, thank you very much for that. Great introduction. Okay, so my 3 tips that are attributing to my success. I think one of them is courage. I mean, I've kind of over the years have been succumbed to many kind of challenges. And I think I've always been courageous, and we'll talk about that later. But I've always been courageous in moving forward. I've always been strong. And actually, that's the kind of tagline for my company, Roaring Ahead. You know, it's about being brave. It's about being strong. And then, of course, then by doing all of that, you become empowered. So being courageous is really important to me. So that's one thing that's attributed to my success. I think also, as I've just said, that resilience, is the other. So to be able to bounce back regardless of the challenges and setbacks, I'm nearly 60. I've had many challenges in my life, and hopefully during this podcast we'll talk about that. But they have, when people think they're going to fail and fall and that's the end, I've always been like, no, I'm coming back. There's that resilience there. So I think that's the other thing. And being persistent, I was described as persistent when I was a project program manager. And, when I get a bone between my teeth, like a little dog, I just carry on. And I think, again, that's about not giving up and just carrying on regardless of what people think, people say, people do. It's kind of overcoming those obstacles. So I hope that helps. I hope those are the kind of 3 top tips. There's many more, but those are the 3 top tips.
Absolutely. But one comment, I don't know if I can make it, but you don't look like as if you are nearing 60, especially your energy levels.
Well, Naveen, that's just a pure example of why people shouldn't put people in boxes, because I am nearly 60. I just turned 59, and I'm not shameful about how old I am. I coming from a very young man. It's really appreciative, but it's also the fact that regardless of your age, you still can have the energy levels. Putting people into boxes isn't exactly what I'm trying to showcase. You don't put people into boxes. People are who they are, and they come as they come. So we'll talk about it. So thank you very much for that.
That's amazing. That's like leading by example, and I'm truly fascinated by it. And let's move ahead. So also, you have started your entrepreneurial journey, right? So what are some of the toughest challenges that you have, or toughest lessons that you have learned in your entrepreneurial journey?
Okay, the first one really is Patience. I am the most impatient person that I know. I'm an action taker and I want things to happen quickly. And I was in project program management for 15 years. So I expect things to be done like today, tomorrow, now is what I usually say to people. And I think that's really hard because sometimes you just have to take a breather. Things come at their own time. And I find that quite tough because, as I've just said, I'm the most impatient. And I know that the road to success can be quite a long one. But, I want to be a multimillionaire by next year. I want people to know my name by next year. It's just like that. It's just like, yes, I want this done. So patience is definitely one, which I found quite tough. I think the other one is trusting. Not everybody is your cheerleader. And I think that I found that quite hard because I'm willing to give my best. I'm willing to give my all. I'm willing to, like Naveen, you've done, you've reached out, you've touched somebody's life, you've given back. Yeah. And I, again, will reciprocate that. And I think that's brilliant because it's about collaboration. It's about respect. It's about all of that. But you don't find that everybody's like that. And I find that quite heartbreaking because even though I appear to be tough and, courageous and all the kind of attributes of a lion, but I have a very soft heart. And I find that trusting people is quite tough because as I just said, not everybody wants to give back to how you come across. So I find that quite hard. I think another thing is that I realized being on this journey is that you have to constantly adapt, right? Yeah. So there's this evolution. So you need to keep on evolving, changing, growing, all of those things. And, not every week is the same. Not every day is the same. And, things come through. I mean, like you reached out to me, give me that example. Yeah. You reached out to me. We're doing this, that's nice. No, it's not just nice. It's lovely. You don't know what's coming through the door and you adapt with that and you change and you evolve and you also change your business. I remember when I started this business, I said to my children when we set up the website, it isn't going to be what we started off with. It's going to end to be something completely different. And we are evolving all the time. I think the other thing is that when you have your own business, it's not a 9 to 5. It's not, okay, 5 o'clock, I'm shutting the doors, I'm going home. Or it's 9 o'clock and I'm this. It's constant. It's all the time. It's every day. I mean, I'm talking about every day, even weekends, even if I may be at home, I'm still working. So you realize it's a 9 to 5. It's more than a 9 to 5. It's constant. I dream my business. I literally do. I get up in the morning and go, a brilliant idea, or I've got this, or I'm going to do that. And so I think that's the other thing that I've realized as well.
Yeah. I can totally resonate with you on it's not just a 9 to 5 stuff. Recently, my wife opened a store, and during her absence, I have to manage the store over the weekend just because we have started it, right? And everybody should realize that, okay, we are seriously doing that business. I think that's a valid point. And now let's talk about the secret. I did some research about you and got to know that you are called as Sher. Lion. So why did you get this Sher as a nickname?
I mean, that's quite emotional because it was my mother who used to call me Sher, Sherni. Tu meri Sherni, you're my Sher, Yeah. I think she saw something in me that sometimes I didn't even see. She saw the courage, the strength, the bravery, my single-mindedness. I've always, we were talking about resilience a moment ago, and I've encountered a lot in my life, and I come back. Then I have this vision in my head. I have this purpose. I have this mission that I go, right, I want to do this. I'm going to prove people wrong. So I think she saw me as being single-minded, not giving up, being very goal-orientated and being very focused. And I kind of, that's the reason where Roaring Ahead came from, because she used to see that in me. And I had to honor my mother because she died in 2017, that I had to call my business Roaring Ahead. I had to honor her because of what she called me and her belief in me, because, we'll talk about this in a while, but people have abandoned me in my life. And I felt that she hadn't. She recognized the core traits that were within myself. And it's quite interesting. I've just recently read that, a lion isn't afraid of doing what he wants. Well, no, I'm not. Okay? The lion is not afraid of going in his own direction while everybody else is going in a different direction. And that's absolutely true. I don't follow the crowd. I do my own thing. I follow my intuition quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all the time, actually. And I feel, when I feel something, I'm going to do something. It was like you're not invisible after 50. When I felt it, I needed to do it. I even trademarked it because I believed in it so much. And it was just an idea, but I believed in it so much that I felt that I had to do it. So when everybody else is going one way, you'll be seeing me going the opposite way. So that's me. I'm very kind of, as I said, courageous enough to defend myself and my life and my children, because I do everything for my kids. I have them at the forefront of my mind, and I just go, this is the example I need to set them. And, they are the most honorable, loving, devoted, dedicated children I know. So I know every mother says that, and we'll talk about my past a little bit more, but I feel that, as a result of what I give them as who I am, that gives them the faith. And I really kind of believe in stepping out, standing out, speaking out, and then having the voice now. Whereas before I was quietened down, shut down. And I think my mother always saw that. And now, because I set up the company, it gives you the power of I've rediscovered my power to then speak out.
Okay, here comes my next one. Couple of years ago, I came across an article which spoke about age. And age is just a number. That's what many people say. And in addition to that, it is also mentioned that our body cells get refreshed every 2.5 to 3 years, if I remember it precisely. So likewise, if that is the case, right, then age is just a number. It doesn't matter. But we have seen people boxing them. Okay, if he's in 20s, they do something like that. 30s are different, 40s are different, 50s are different, 60s are different. And likewise, we have some perception about people. I have an interesting question here. How did somebody's thought process evolve, or how does somebody's thought process evolve right from 20s? How are they different in 30s versus 40s and 50s? And is there any drastic difference as such? What's your experience?
I think it's a really interesting question. I mean, I can't talk about other people's experiences. I can only talk about myself.
Yeah.
So on reflection, so in my 20s, I was daring, experimental, risk-taking. I think a lot of people can kind of know what I'm talking about. So risk-taking, thinking outside the box, non-conforming to anything, and pushing boundaries. I mean, I was first generation and, born in the UK, parents came from India. So I was all about, what are my peers doing? I want to be a bit more like them. My parents came with the same kind of views that existed in India when they were there. But of course, they were also very young themselves when they first came. So I was always pushing the boundaries. I was always kind of thinking outside the box. That was in my 20s, and my father found me quite challenging. And I think in the 30s, I kind of, I got married at 27, and you become more accepting in your 30s. I had children. I settled down. I conformed with the family and also the needs of my society, whether it be, immediate family, extended family, or the society as a whole. You kind of become more accepting and stop challenging. But we'll talk about that in a while, because, I wasn't really happy doing that either. And then, of course, in your 40s, when you kind of, your children are a bit more grown up, you start to become yourself a little bit more. You forget who you are in those times, and then you become more defiant. I became more independent. I actually went back to work in my 40s. I developed a career as a project program manager for 15 years. Starting in my 40s, I went back into the workforce, which was a need and a want. And I'm glad I did that. I became financially independent. But you still have the stronghold and the stranglehold, I would say, of family, and not immediate family, but, extended family, and the society as well. Now, in my 50s, everything changed. Everything changed. I left my marriage at 52, which is not something that you would normally do. My mother died, as I've just said, in 2017. And then I went through a set of kind of traumatic events, which almost led me to losing everything. I mean, literally everything. And by the grace of God, I didn't. I mean, I believe in God. I'm a Hindu. I believe in God. And I knew after my mother had died that I had to kind of fight back. I had to stand up. I had to survive and strive for my children because, as I've said, that you're an example to your children. And I wasn't going to fail because other people wanted me to fail. So this is when I really came into my own. And it's interesting what you just said, Naveen, a little while back, in terms of I've got the energy. I've always had that energy, but it's been succumbed through the various stages of my life because of other people. But now I'm not on hold. I'm not shut down. I'm not disempowered. I am empowered by myself and by my children. And to me, that is so powerful. So that's where we are.
Yeah. And I'm sorry to hear about your mother's loss. And also, just if you're okay, right, can we discuss about your divorce at 52? Because the age at which people try to be in comfort zone and they don't want to take that chance of getting into this divorce. How did you deal that situation?
I mean, I don't believe in divorce, really. I believe in marriage. I'm a romantic at heart. I'm a Piscean. So I believe in all that. But I think you also have to realize and you have to understand that the realities of life, if the realities are toxic, people around you are toxic, your ex-husband is toxic, it's time to get out. And also because, as I said, my children are always at the forefront. And if it's having a negative impact on your kids, and your kids are telling you, as my son did at 52, Mom, it's time to get out. This is my grown-up son, right? He was in his early 20s, mid-20s. Mom, it's time to go. Then you realize that, okay, I should have done this years ago, but then I didn't have the courage at that time, even though I said I've always had that courage. But you just go from the known to the unknown, and that's a huge step to take. I think my saving grace was that I was financially independent because I made sure through events in my life, I made sure I became financially independent. And that allowed me to step outside my house, even though I was very nervous about what comes next. But I always believe that you do things for a reason. I also believe that God puts kind of your path ahead, that it shows you the path. And you have to believe in that process. And you go, okay, so I'm going to do this. This is going to be hard, but I'm going to do it. And I think that was probably the best step I ever took. And even though it was a sad step, but it's good to have left a very toxic relationship. And I know that in our culture, in India and in Indians or, people who are of different culture around the world, whether it be UK, marriage isn't something that you give up on, especially in your 50s. But I think, again, as I've just said, if it's toxic and it's rotting your inside and it's rotting your children, then it's time to go and it's time to become somebody totally different. And I think as a mother, that's really, really important.
Yeah. I came across one more guest who took a similar decision, and more or less the story was the same. Like, she also bore the brunt for about 2.5 decades, and then she took that decision around 52, 54 kind of thing. And at least, things are changing because now we have to focus on ourselves, not being carried away by the stereotypes and what the social stigma talks about, right? At least that kind of awareness is getting created. If at all something is not for us, we have to move on. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think also, people are going to talk anyway, right? People are going to say something. You can't think about dunya ki kegi, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter because dunya is not living your life. You are living your life. And if your life is hellish, then it's time to get out because people are going to talk about you regardless. So I think you need to just put the kind of mufflers on your ears, do what you need to do, and just move forward.
Well said. Well said. I think, that's so powerful message. All right, let's shift gears and talk about your podcast, the hot topic. You're not invisible after 50. And why did you start it, Kiran, in the first place?
Okay, so I think as I go back to, I think I need to tell the whole story. So as I said, my mother died in 2017 and I set up Roaring Ahead with her in mind. And the idea behind that was to empower women because I've been disempowered all my life. I've also been invisible all my life to everybody I think I know. My father didn't see me. My ex-husband and his family didn't see me. And my immediate family and friends didn't see me. But that wasn't the reason. So what happened was I set up Roaring Ahead. And I didn't do anything with it after my mother's death. And then I had to go back into work. I was saying about being financially independent. I went back into work as a project program manager, and I continued until 2019. And in 2019, I decided, okay, I don't want to do any more of this because, I found the workplace quite toxic. So I gave it up, went to Barcelona, wanted to retire there. It only lasted a month because COVID hit. So 2 years later, I moved to Bristol, which was in 2019. And then I felt that I needed to do something. And I set up so I already had the company. I thought, okay, I'm going to start with this. And then for some bizarre reason, this little seed of an idea came into my head, which was you're not invisible after 50. And I thought, yeah, I'm a woman after 50. I've been invisible all my life. I need to showcase people. And I didn't really have a huge idea of what I was going to do. But I said to my son, and my son found this quite strange. I went, I'm going to trademark this. And he goes, you don't even have an idea, Mom. And I went, I know, it's going to happen. And I'm glad I did, because now, we are showcasing women around the world who aren't invisible, who are telling their stories, which I think is absolutely brilliant. They're sharing what they're doing. I'm showcasing them and spotlighting them. And they're also providing tips, valuable tips to women or to people under 50 and also over 50. Yeah. So it's kind of multifaceted, really. And I think that's great because, you want this to grow and grow and grow. And for people to realize that, as you said, this 50 isn't the end. I say 50 isn't the end. Yeah. You said to me earlier, right at the beginning of this podcast, you've got a lot of energy. People have that. You don't, you reach this great age of 50 and go, your energy just seeps out through the various pores. It doesn't happen like that, right? It's there. And if you're that type of person, then you're that type of person. And this is what we're trying to show the world, that you don't have to be a stereotypical image of a woman over 50 who is, sitting in a corner, I love my grey hair, right? So I showcase my grey hair, but who are grey haired and just got nothing better to do with their time, right? It's not the case. If you have a voice, you have your health, you have the power to create a difference, you should do it.
So powerful. And I'm truly inspired. And I, as I said earlier, I was so intrigued by the title. You're not invisible after 50. And you have created such a platform where everybody is getting visibility and in turn sharing their inspiration to people under 50 as well as over 50. So congratulations on getting listed in the top 10% globally. And I wish to see you in top 5%, top 3%, 1%, and so on. So wish you loads of success.
Navi, that's exactly the direction of travel, right? That is it. I have a goal, a mission. We're talking about like being patient or impatient.
Yeah.
This is it. Like I have a goal this year, right? I've gone from 10% we really started the podcast last June. So within 6 months, we've gone top 10%. So my goal is 5%, as you've just said, all those various targets. But equally, can I just say, you're doing exactly the same. You're giving people a platform to speak. Yeah. You're spreading the word. People are learning from this podcast as well. So congratulations to you. And again, thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak my truth.
Yeah. Pleasure is all mine. And let's move ahead with the next one, Kiran. Many people, right, especially in India, they think that they cannot start anything in 50. What's your advice to them?
Anything is possible, right? I mean, as I said before, you don't listen to what people think or what people say because that's their life, right? I think in the world, in our culture, we worry too much about what other people are thinking. And it's our limiting beliefs that stop us from becoming who we want to be. What's happened to me in my life, I realized, people put me in different kind of boxes, and there weren't good boxes. They were like, she's angry or she's not good or she's bad. And it's not true. And you go, well, okay, I'm going to show the world that I'm not any of those things. I am who I am. So become who you want to be. You're alive until you die, right? That's it. Right? Until you're dead, and that's a different thing. But if you've got the energy, the power, the mindset, you can do what you want and become who you want, as long as it doesn't harm anybody and you're doing good. I mean, I know what my mission is now. When we're in different stages of our lives, we are, bringing up our children, we are earning an income. When you get older, that's still important because you still need to have money to live, etc. But your mission and your purpose becomes different. And I think then you need to think about, okay, if I was to die tomorrow, what would I want to be remembered as? I know that I want to leave a legacy. I know that I need to make an impact on the world. I know I need to create a change. And if you have those kind of wishes and wants and needs, I think you should just go for it. So become the example, become the role model, and really become you. Because now, Naveen, I've become me that I should have been in my 20s and my 30s and 40s, but I wasn't because of other people. But now I am. This is me. So I'm happy. I'm actually at my happiest, regardless of what crap has gone on in my life. I'm at my happiest now.
Wonderful. So thumbs up.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great conversation so far. I am loving it to the core. Let's add some spice to the episode. I'm going to kick off a quick rapid fire round. Is that okay for you?
Oh, okay, go for it.
All right, that's the spirit. And let me move ahead with the first one. If you could have a gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, what would it say?
It has to be about kindness. So let me think for just a second. I think it's about spreading kindness like confetti and seeing the world sparkle, something like that, So people stop, and I can imagine this billboard with pieces of confetti and glitter. And I think that's what people need to do, actually. I think if you spread kindness, I think that is what the world is short of. And I think that's what you need to have as a message out there. And if I had a billboard, that's what I would put on it.
Very nice. Let's move to the next one. If you were on a deserted island with nothing, what would you do?
Probably dream. I was a dreamer. I was a dreamer when I was a child. I'm still a dreamer. As I said, I wake up with a dream. I kind of think about things like so. I think dreaming would be good because I would think about how I get out of the, off the deserted island and etc. So I think dreaming would be quite powerful, and possibly singing, because I think not that I'm a great singer, but I think singing is good for the heart and soul. So I think that'd be quite good.
Superb. Let's move ahead. Describe yourself in just one word.
Honest. I believe in honesty. Totally believe in honesty. I've experienced a lot of crap in my life, and I just think that's the only one way to go now, is just to be honest and truthful.
Fabulous. And what is the weirdest thing that you have ever eaten?
This you'll find really funny. I was in Argentina. I had to go at eating alligator when I was a meat eater. Yeah, because I was in Argentina, which is really strange because it was a delicacy. And so that's the weirdest thing I've eaten, in my life. I'm not saying I would recommend it. No, I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay. Moving ahead. And if you were a superhero, what would you do first?
As we remove the crap in this world, all the nastiness, the wars, whatever, just make it a much more peaceful, tolerant society world that we live in. I think that's what's needed in this world at this moment in time. Yeah. Peace.
Sure.
Peace.
Yep. Indeed, I resonate with you and concur with you as well. And with that, let's find the last one. What is one electronic gadget that you'd like to see or invent yourself, Kiran?
I think anything to help reverse climate change. I think we need to build a world for future generations. I think people need to be more selfless and think about what's coming up behind them, not just about themselves, whatever stage they're at.
I think you have a purpose associated with anything. That's so nice of you. It's
oh, thank you.
Let's flip back to the mainstream. And what will be your one key message to people below 50, and how should they look into life?
I think I said this earlier on. I always think to myself, okay, if I was to die tomorrow, what regret would I have in my life? Right? How would I want to be remembered? And it's the thing that becomes your why, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, why do this? Because you want to make a change. I mean, for me personally, that's the thing. Like, first of all, when I was younger, it was like making sure that my children were educated. I achieved that, so that I'm not going to live. If I died tomorrow, I wouldn't live with a regret. So think of what your why is. That's what I would say. Why do you exist? What's your purpose? And make it possible. Because I think that's what we all should do.
Yeah. Super powerful message. And with that, let me ask you one last question.
Have I exhausted you, Naveen?
Not really. I'm more energized now. As I said, the conversation has been vibrant. So I just want to seek your feedback on how is your experience on being hosted on the Guiding Voice.
Oh, can I just say it's been super powerful. The fact is that you've asked such intriguing questions, allowed me to say what I needed to say. The listeners, hopefully they'll take something away. And I think that's what it's about. That's what you're about. This is what your podcast is about. It's what I'm about. I think just showcasing people and showing the variety of different people at different stages in their life with different experiences is super powerful because we're giving back. And I think that's what the best thing you can do is give back to the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the kind words, and thank you so much for your time and all the wonderful, wonderful insights. And it was absolute pleasure talking to you, Kiran.
It's been absolutely wonderful talking to you. And, we are going to keep connected. So that's the other thing. And I thank you for allowing me to be here. So thank you for reaching out.
Yeah, pleasure to host you, Kiran. So, friends, that was our conversation with Kiran Kumar on You're Not Invisible After 50. Before we move into the trivia section, here is a request to you. Please subscribe to us in case if you haven't done already. Also, if you have loved the episode and found the conversation useful, request you to share with at least 3 of your friends or colleagues who can benefit from the Guiding Voice. Thank you so much in advance. Now, let's hop into the trivia segment of today's trip. Let's hop into the trivia segment of today's episode. Today we had wonderful conversation around You're Not Invisible After 50, and Kiran has shared her insights around various life stages and how people perceive us and what kind of things happen at various stages. So I thought I'll talk something related to aging, and I was doing some research, found an article by WHO, World Health Organization, and as per WHO, the world's population is rapidly aging. The number of people aged 60 years or older will rise from 900 million to 2 billion between 2015 and 2050. So, which is like moving from 12% to 22% of the total global population. And population aging is happening more quickly than in the past. For example, while France had almost 150 years to adapt to a change from 10% to 20% in the proportion of the population that was older than 60 years, places like Brazil, China, and India will have slightly more than 20 years to make the same adaptation. However, aging is common, but based on Kiran's insights and based on many other leaders who have proven that age is just a number, we don't have to worry about aging. All we have to do is, as long as we are energetic, we have to make our dreams come true and live our own dreams. That's all for today. And folks, if you have come across any senior leader or any senior citizen who is inspiring through their actions, who is inspiring through their leadership, who is inspiring through their entrepreneurship, please share their details with me. Thank you so much for joining me again. And also, do not forget to share your topic recommendations and guest speaker suggestions through either social media or email me at theguidingvoiceforyou@gmail.com. Friends, I am your host Naveen Samala, just a fellow professional and a passionate learner. on a mission to make the world a better place to live through conversations that matter and conversations that add value to your life and to your career. Until next time, bye bye. See you all in the next episode with another wonderful guest.